Newest superhero costumes we can't believe exist. Starting off strong with a character that doesn't work as well on the screen as he does on the page, MODOK. As you may or may not know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania came out pretty recently, just over a year ago. That's a decent chunk of time, and yet my nightmares are still haunted by live-action MODOK. To be fair, that is what the character looks like. It just looks and feels considerably less weird when you read it on a comic page and not see a warped human face on a 30-foot screen. The actor was doing his best, but the odds were against him. The MCU also chose to make the MODOK bald, which is quite interesting considering he is usually drawn with hair. Not always, but lots of versions have a full head of hair. I'm sure Marvel tried the hair, which indicates that the hair was likely even worse, so I guess thank you Marvel for saving us from that. Director James Gunn is taking on a new Superman movie, much to the excitement of fans everywhere. However, that excitement dwindled for some when Gunn posted a sneak peek of Superman's new suit. In a May 6th post to the director's Instagram, you can see new Superman, David Corenswet, suiting up to deal with a new threat. The costume is not that different from other versions, they just took the iconic suit and made it more modern and detailed. Now, the actor for the hero does have some tough shoes to fill. Henry Cavill is a fan favorite Superman for good reason. There are some people that just hate the costume though, some saying it literally doesn't fit the actor, that it's super baggy. The suit is pretty banged up, which some people are taking issue with. Other fans like that the suit fits the actor a bit baggy when he's sitting down. One person commenting, "Finally, a Superman who has a suit that doesn't look like body paint, love it." But the major change fans think they see, some people can't believe are back in a good way, are Superman's red trunks. I know this suit is controversial though, so let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I can't believe a space Spider-Man exists, but to be crystal clear, I love it. Star Spider is the hero. She debuted in April of this year in Edge of Spider-Verse Volume 4 Issue 3. Her civilian name is Persephone Parker and she is from Earth's 1978, but is currently living on a space station. She is a quantum engineering apprentice, so she is working up there, and also working as a spider hero. Her costume is pretty cool if I do say so myself. It's made up of nanobots that Persephone can communicate with. The bots are called the Sanitation, Planning, Integrated Defense and Engineering Robots, or Spider Robots. They move around Persephone's body to create a suit capable of keeping her safe while she fights in the vacuum of space. It keeps the basic design elements of a usual spider suit, spider emblem in the middle, and red and blue, but the spider design looks like it's made of neon, so she literally glows. The suit also looks super sturdy, like it will actually protect her and it's not just there to look cute. Do superhero costumes apply to cars? I think so, and so I am going to include the kids cartoon series Batwheels on this list because I am very confused. I suppose the idea makes some sense considering the success of Disney's Cars. It just looks like a fever dream. The basic rundown of the show is the various cars of the Bat family are brought to life by the Bat computer to fight crime in the disaster that is Gotham City. In this world, Gotham has gotten so bad they need an extra Bat team of crime-fighting cars. The team is led by the Batmobile, of course, sometimes referred to as BAM in this universe. The cars do face off against other cars, typically just like the car version of major Bat villains. There is a random helicopter in there though. I don't know if my Sunday will be spent watching this, but it seems like great fun for anyone with littles. Okay, I will admit that this point is from about 7 years ago, but that's like nothing in Marvel time, and also it's so stupid I have to bring it up. Ben Reilly's mouth Spider-Man costume from 2017's Ben Reilly the Scarlet Spider series. Who did that? He looks like an emoji. There was lots of backlash when the mouth costume was teased, so much so that Marvel announced it would be changed by the 3rd issue. It was too late to change 1 and 2. Other than the mouth, the costume is great. Some fans even consider it to be their favorite Ben look. The mouth is just so silly though. I never expected to see a combination of Nightcrawler and Wolverine, but I am absolutely not upset about it. Wagnerine is her name, and her game has changed a few times. She was initially hired to off people and was a little evil in her heart until the Scream of Change was used on her, and then she turned into a good guy. She is literally Nightcrawler, Wolverine, DNAs mashed up together. Her look is a really good mix of both heroes. She has the red part of Nightcrawler's look and the weird feet. I know that Nightcrawler is not a human, but the 2 toes makes me uncomfortable, so you know what? I can't believe they're still using it. Wagnerine has the Wolverine claws and cowl. The most aggressive combination of the two characters has to be Wagnerine's Nightcrawler tail with a Wolverine claw on it. Lots of recent Batmans have worn a black suit, especially in movies, but the character started out with a gray suit, and it looks like the Bat will be heading back to his roots with the latest redesign. The new suit will debut in 2024's Batman 148 when Batman faces off against his evil alter ego Zur-NR. It's no secret that DC likes to write some stories with darker themes nowadays, so it makes sense that the characters' outfits get darker as well. But now Batman is lightening up a bit in the costume department, and only there. The new suit is going to be gray with dark blue accents, and it has the classic yellow utility belt. What I can't believe with this look is how big the Bat in the middle is. I know it seems like such a silly thing to notice, but like the Bat is huge. It takes up his whole upper chest. We know you're Batman, we get it. It could just be perspective, but I don't think so. I guess we will have to find out soon when the comic comes out on June 4th. About this time last year, Marvel dropped a version of Venom that is so cool I can't believe he exists. Samurai Venom exists out there in the Venomverse, in the way that there's like thousands of Spider-Mans in the Spider-Verse, there is just as many Venoms in the Venomverse. Takemoto Tatsuya became Samurai Venom when he picked up a black katana. It was infected with the symbiote Venom, of course. At first, Tatsuya resisted Venom because Venom can be a bit violent and uncontrollable, but after an encounter with the Scorpion, he is singing a very different tune. Sometimes Venom is the answer. It's still a rough relationship, always a fight for control, but Takemoto is hopeful that the two can eventually coexist. It truly is a mix of traditional samurai armor and the Venom look. Overall, I would say the armor on him is slimmer than what you would typically see when it comes to samurai armor, but it's still got the general outline and plates and belts. Time to look at another version of Spider-Man, and this one dresses like Cyclops stole his whole flow. So this Peter is from Earth 72 and also debuted in the new volume of the Edge of Spider-Verse series, but issue 1 this time. In this world, Peter has had his mind erased by Department H. Department H takes soldiers and messes with them genetically. It's unclear if Spider-Man got his powers from the experiments or the traditional spider bite in this universe. Peter doesn't know his name. At the start of his story, he is known as Weapon 8, and the short story is focused on Peter learning his name and getting a piece of his identity back. This Peter is quite powerful. He managed to defeat and kidnap the Wolverine of that Earth and off Captain America of that Earth quite easily, I might add. Now the reason it was easy is likely due to some extra pieces that Peter has. The experiments gave Peter extra eyes and arms. And what I couldn't believe when I first saw the arms is that they are not robot arms like one would hope. They are actually spider claw looking arms covered in skin, so they are actually part of Peter's body. Peter's extra eyes are also quite unsettling in the way only a human with 8 eyes can be. The reason I say that Peter's costume looks like Cyclops is because it kind of does. The suit is blue and yellow, which now with X-Men 97 out, we are seeing a lot of blue and yellow Scott Summers. Then there's the glasses. Cyclops famously has his visor to control his optic blasts, and the visor is red. Peter's glasses remind me of that because they are also red and yellow. Unclear why they picked red for Peter though. He just looks like Cyclops, and I will die on that hill. This is maybe the most recent kind of costume announcement. It happened May 25th. Okay, for months now, years, however long Taylor Swift has been friends with Ryan Reynolds, there have been rumors of her joining the MCU or Marvel Entertainment as a whole. Dazzler was the long-running theory, then it was rumored the singer would take on a show in the role of Blonde Phantom, but Marvel has just posted a new picture of the mutant known as Magik, and the resemblance is uncanny X-Men if you will. This slightly redesigned character really looks like Taylor Swift. So while her outfit has not changed much, if at all, her face definitely has people taking a second look. As one Instagram user did point out though, you can see the mutant's belly button, and as Taylor Swift fans know, Swift does not show hers often. It's an inside joke. The rumors that Taylor is joining Deadpool and Wolverine are still going strong, and the real surprise at this point is just who Taylor might play. 3 months ago, Marvel dropped a brand new villain. His name is the Planter. He debuted in Miss Marvel Mutant Menace 1. The Planter looks a little bit like the mascot for Green Giant Green Beans, but I think that might just be because of the leaves and green skin. The Planter is a mutant on Earth 616, and he takes on the qualities of any plant he's ever touched. He touches a rose, for example, he would grow thorns. The Planter decides to use his mutant abilities to rob jewelry stores across Jersey City. As he is leaving one store, he states that his robberies are a victimless crime because jewelry stores have insurance. Anyways, you know helicopter seeds? As the Planter is making his escape, he grows a huge helicopter seat on his back to fly out of there. It looks ridiculous, but it works. It's hinted that the planter has the potential to join the good side, but the comic is still coming out, so we will have to wait and see. I didn't know I needed punk aesthetic lizard in my life until now. February's Spider-Punk arms race gave us the gift of Punk Lizard. Of all the characters I would have guessed to be into music and end up dressing like a rock star, Lizard wouldn't have even made the top 10, yet here we are. The Lizard of Earth 138 is in a band of reptiles. Their band is working to get a record deal, but it's tough. They are willing to do anything to get it though. Vulture preys on this and tells the Lizard band that if they could mess up the Spider band, they would get a record deal. The Lizards head off to do just that, only they end up getting kicked to the curb by our spider heroes. Lizard here wears a black leather jacket and he has spiky black hair on his head, and it kinda looks like a mohawk, which is absolutely iconic. You ever look at a villain and go, yeah, you named yourself appropriately? Well, that was me, looking at Terror. The newer version of him is from Earth 2099 that debuted a few months ago in Timeless Volume 3 and then in Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099-4. The character of Terror has been around since 1988, but there's a new version in town and he looks awful. Also, his name might be Shrek, which I think is hilarious. Terror's thing is he was cursed to look like a demon with green skin and decaying limbs. Since his body is always decaying, he needs to replace his parts frequently, so he has the ability to merge other people's limbs into his own body like a self-made Frankenstein's monster. The version of him that debuted a few months ago is the scariest of the ones I've seen. He looks like he steals people's parts because he is falling apart. He actually has a whole operation for it in this world. He opened the Body Shop, and it's not a place for lotions or soap. It's a place where bad people get lured so Terror can keep their body pieces. Terror was ultimately driven away from his shop by Spider-Man to hide in the sewers. Maxwell Markham, aka Grizzly, originally debuted in 1974, but a new version of him dropped literally a few weeks ago, and he's kinda fabulous. The new version debuted in Spider-Man Unlimited Infinity Comic 37. The first half of the comic is Earth 616. It's normal Spider-Man fighting against the normal Grizzly, so we see what Grizzly normally looks like, a strong man in a grizzly bear suit. Most, if not all, depictions of Grizzly up until this point were a man in a bear suit or wearing a bear skin or fur in some way. The new Grizzly is a different kind of bear. He is still a strong guy, and I'm sure he still wears that grizzly bear suit every once in a while, but on Earth 71,490, he is not just a criminal, he is the criminal, New York's kingpin of crime. Not much is known about him considering he literally just dropped on like May 14th, but we can assume his story is similar to his 616 counterpart. He's shown in his human look with what I'm assuming are some adamantium or gold claws, which makes sense, but he also has presumably the same metal as a beard. I mean, he probably wears it because his like jaw was busted or something, but I like to think that he just chose to make himself a beard out of some of the most rare metals on Earth strictly for the aesthetic. You've heard of the Sinister Six, well get ready for the Sinister Six. They are the same but different and also scarier. Already, the idea of going up against 6 of your worst enemies at once sounds awful, but it can get worse. The Sinister Six exist on Earth 9349. This universe has a lot of cybernetic implants going on. They are super popular. The Spider-Man of this Earth has them, but unfortunately, so do the Sinister Six. That's why they are called the Sinister Six. So now you have all these villains that were already hard to subdue when they were normal, tricked out with cybernetic implants that make it even harder to take them down. In the comic, Spider-Man says he got his implants because he had some really bad injuries, but it's also implied that the villains were getting the implants first, which probably made it next to impossible for Spidey to win in a fight against them. Even though the villains are a bigger problem now than ever before, they also look cooler now than they ever did before. I know, I can't believe it either. On this upgraded villain squad, we have Electro, the Living Circuit, Cyber Goblin, Silicon Man, who is Sandman, Mysterio, but it's spelled Mystery Zero, Steel Vulture, and Dr. Octoplex. For the most part, everyone looks like just like a robot cosplay of themselves. The only outliers are Mysterio and Doc Ock. Mysterio is just his crystal ball head with some disturbing little tentacles, and pretty much the same goes for Doc Ock, half his torso and his head and all those tentacles. Spider-Man's cybernetic implants ended up being the only reason he made it out alive from the fight with all these guys. When he got the implants, he also received an operating system named Webby. Spider-Man is trapped by the villains and seconds away from death when suddenly all the villains' cybernetics stop working. Turns out Webby was able to hack them and shut them down, leaving an opening for Spider-Man to get away. So far, the Sinister Six have only appeared in March of 2024's Edge of Spider-Verse Volume 4, but hopefully we'll revisit them again soon. You've heard of millionaires, you've heard of billionaires, listeners, get ready for Killionaire, the teen influencer out to ruin your life. Killionaire's power is money, which is not a power to be underestimated. He hires Taskmaster to create a suit for himself with all the powers of all the Avengers. Unfortunately, Taskmaster was only able to build a little toy with the powers of all the Avengers. Still, that soldier was destructive. Killionaire took it on a walk downtown and filmed the toy destroying pretty much everything in its path, like billboards and screens and cars. Spider-Boy is the one to fight the little toy, eventually convincing it to be a good guy instead, and Killionaire is left with nothing but potential juvie sentence. Killionaire looks like a purple and gold version of Vector from Despicable Me. His haircut is definitely a choice, and not one I would have made if I was a super rich kid. Also, the combo of the skinny glasses, turtleneck, gold slim jacket, and massive gold chain K, it's too much for me, I'm sorry, but it's giving Vector. Like father, like daughter, the Ringmaster's daughter has stepped into his shoes and put on his hat. The Ringmaster look was goofy on her dad, and I'm sorry, but it looks a little bit goofy on the Ringmistress too. Thankfully, that is probably the point considering it's the circus. The Ringmistress wanted to make herself into a respectable villain, so she put on her dad's hypnotism top hat and gathered up a team to create her own version of the Circus of Crime. Her colors are green and purple, like her dad, so green coat covered in black stars with matching boots, and then a purple jumpsuit and top hat. The top hat has one of those black and white swirls on it because it's used to hypnotize. This 2024 version of the Crime Circus had a major debut crime planned. They were going to attempt to rob everyone at a fair by making the Ferris wheel into a giant hypnosis device. Did it work? No, of course not. Doctor Strange put a stop to it. The other members of the new Circus of Crime were Jim Nasty, Stefano Stiletto, and Chief Beef. Who knew adding a 0 to the end of 616 would result in the most disturbing Marvel universe ever created? Earth 6160 is the Earth currently being featured in Ultimate X-Men Volume 2. It's the universe that the Maker used time travel to create his perfect world and prevent anybody from becoming a superhero. In this world, we are introduced to this shadow that is like terrorizing this little girl. The shadow's design might be simple, but it is unbelievably unsettling. I think the shadow is also like a real human man too, and he just looks like a guy in that sense. It's the abstract entity side of Shadow that gives me the creeps. It's like this black, scratchy line blob thing with veins and red misshapen eyes. I don't like it. I don't like it. The comics are still coming out. The character debuted in March of this year, so we have to wait and see where the Shadow ends up. Is Venom a hero? Is Venom a villain? It really depends, but Clown Venom did ruin a kid's birthday party, so I think we know what category that puts him in. Cloud Venom debuted in August of last year in Edge of Venomverse Unlimited Infinity Comic 8. The clown was a regular birthday entertainer that happened to be bonded to a symbiote. The kids at the party were being really annoying, and that caused the clown to get so frustrated he accidentally let his sim loose. This caused pretty much every child to run for their mom. Carnage eventually showed up to make everything worse and take out Clown Venom. Clown Venom used a variety of silly tactics to confuse and I guess fight Carnage, like turning his tentacles into balloon animals and making himself a piñata. Unfortunately, Carnage did win, and the clown's noggin ended up as a birthday present. The Venom clown is allegedly supposed to be a parody of Pennywise, and though it was pretty ridiculous, it was also pretty fun. We now have a new demigod villain who is drenched in the sweat of Theseus and has an enchanted bag that blows air. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Zeper debuted in February of this year in Miles Morales' Spider-Man 17. Miles, Miss Marvel, and Shift were fighting this guy in Brooklyn, and I think he was just there to cause problems. Like, we get thrown into the middle of the fight pretty much, so it's unclear why Zip is causing all these problems. Zip is presumably from ancient Greece or is Greek because he says he bathed in the sweat of Theseus, which made him really slippery. Because he is slippery, he moves really fast because he's literally slipping through the wind, and also spiderwebs, they don't stick to him. The other thing Zip has going for him is his bag. It blows air, powerful bursts of air. I think Miles best summed up everyone's feelings about this when he said, "A bag of wind? What is even going on right now?" Zip gets KO'd by Shift and presumably arrested. No amount of Theseus' sweat is going to help him slip out of that one.
Not all costumes can be winners, especially when they are competing with a classic like Spider-Man's red and blue or Spider-Man's black and red. But which are the worst? While Spider Armor MK1 might look a lot better today in its modern iteration, initially when it debuted in Web of Spider-Man issue number 100, it looked honestly pretty goofy. It's giving tinfoil vibes to me. Tinfoil armor, which might actually be what it's made out of, at least in part, as Spider-Man refers to it being made out of a material that is known as being pseudo-metallic, which sounds like it's not really made out of any true steel or like any other real metal. Pseudo means imitation, basically, something that's not genuine, and metallic just means resembling metal, so I'm not surprised this suit was initially shattered in its first incarnation. Rest in peace, pseudo-metallic aka tinfoil suit. Pretty sure it's tinfoil. Pretty sure. What is happening with some of these suits in Spider-Man 2? I really want to like the hair poking out here, and honestly I do love that Miles' hair is dyed red for this look, but at the same time, why does it look like the suit is just perfectly cut and molded still? Like, it looks like someone went in Photoshop, right? And they had the full mask, they had the full head. They literally removed the top of the mask, the top of his head. The lines are just too sharp, and the mask does not look like it is properly formed to his head. It literally looks like he's wearing Lego hair a little bit. But aside from the hair rant, which, let's be honest, that's most of my point here, and I'm gonna talk about it probably again, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this look when it comes to just even the shoes. Why are the shoes always throwing me off with Miles' look? I mean, a lot of the times I get stuck on the shoes. This is Miles Morales' Red Spectre suit, by the way, from Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation, and I don't know how I feel about it, other than I simply don't like it. I want to like it, but I just can't. Just what is even going on in Spider-Man right now in the comics? What is happening? Someone help me. Part of me wants to read and like find out, and then the other part of me is honestly a little too scared to read and find out. I'm a little nervous. This new suit of Peter's, though, an Amazing Spider-Man, which will make its first appearance in ASM issue number 53 this summer, or just before, presumably, based on the cover for issue number 53, and honestly there's a cover, I think it's for issue 52, it's like the costume is teased, but then issue 53 we already have the cover for, so I don't know. This costume, though, it seems to give us a sense, at least, for some of the story behind it, and I'm not sure that I like it. The solicit for this issue also gives me more details that I'm not sure how I feel about. The solicit reads, Peter Parker is the Spider-Goblin. Peter Parker carries the weight of Norman Osborn's sins and takes to the skies as Spider-Goblin. How do I feel about this? How do you feel about this? Ugh, this one just feels kind of garish to me. Now, I understand what it's trying to do. I kind of respect what it's trying to do, but like the suit that we just touched upon, this one just feels a bit too showy for my taste, I'm gonna be real. We're talking here about Peter Parker's smoke and mirrors suit. This suit design is of course based off of the famous Spider-Man villain Mysterio's look, but what works for Mysterio doesn't necessarily work for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in terms of style, in my opinion. The glass smoky helmet really throws me off with this one too, as every time I look at it, it just makes me feel like super detached from the character. I keep forgetting that it's like an actual head. Keep being like, oh, why isn't Peter wearing it though? I mean, where is Spider-Man's face here also? Even with him being in it, how does he see? Style 1, in terms of color, being mainly white with sort of black and gold accents, just makes me straight up think of the White Ranger from Power Rangers. Now granted, I like Power Rangers, okay? But I don't need to be reminded of the Power Rangers when I'm playing a Spider-Man game. To me that feels kind of weird. I will say the problems this suit has are kind of the opposite of the next one on our list though, which is gonna go in a bad way in a totally different direction. This suit being inspired by the Miles Morales The End comic doesn't make it any better in my opinion. It works better in the comic in terms of what it represents, but on its own it isn't really cool enough to spark love for this look just deep within myself on style alone. The End comics are basically multiversal and hypothetical ending stories for our heroes if you've had not gotten into them before. Some of these stories are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are just like kind of meh. For me, Miles' The End was just kind of meh. This look also evokes a similar vibe for me. It's kinda meh. In the comic, at least we get to see an older Miles don the suit, but even then, it's just a pretty basic look. Camo pants over Miles' black and red spider suit with black and red matching boots and a hooded leather jacket. I just wish there was a bit more to it, as it feels like a little too casual for my tastes. But I don't know, maybe when you get older, you're like, time to get more casual in my superhero attire. Simply put, there are too many lines for me when it comes to this suit, suit and its look. It's just a lot of a lot. We're talking here about the Secret War Spider-Man suit that appears in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. Now, I do like the colors, the blue and black anyways, but I'm not sure how I feel about those red lines though even, like, I don't know. One of the few suits from Miles where everyone else's issues with it is not my issue with it. When it comes to the evolved suit from Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation, a lot of people out there take issue with the branded Adidas sneakers. Now, a lot of people were not happy with these, feeling that Miles' appearance and sweet kicks in the game were made to target a teenage audience, and that offended people. For some reason. Something many fans felt didn't really exist for these games, I guess. They were like, there is no teen audience, how dare they? And they thought therefore it was silly. Although to be honest, I know people of all ages who love Spider-Man. I think that his shoe choice is actually less about targeting teens, in my opinion, and it's just more about reflecting kind of like Miles' style. And while normally I'm not a fan of a superhero sneaker look, even with Miles, I think in this case, Miles actually pulls it off with this suit. Now my issue here though is once again, the hair poking out of the top. Like I said, I don't mind the hair itself. I actually think that's a cool style choice, but just the way it looks, like there's something off about the way they did it. It looks like the top of the mask was clean cut away and is like stiff. Or like Miles' head is weirdly blocky. If it's a spandex style mask, shouldn't the part where it's open like squeeze tightly to the top of Miles' head and then the hair comes out of that? It feels like it should just be a little bit more rounded there, and yet it's just like weirdly stiff and straight at the part where the mask meets the hair. I don't like that. I've talked about this next look before on the channel, and of course, as it was a look created to coincide with and celebrate Miles' 10th anniversary as a character, it appears also in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not a big fan of this look. Chiefly, I think it's like the super tight fitting leggings with just the big oversized hoodie. It's a vibe, but it's just not one that I'm feeling for Miles. Maybe on another character I might like this better, but it just feels like it doesn't really fit here. Aside from that, I'm also just not a big fan of the chonky kind of sneakers and like the long neck of the hoodie which zips up to cover the lower half of Miles's already masked face. I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Why are team-up comics always the ones with weird outfits for Spider-Man? It's like he teams up and he needs to get a suit to match that comic, to match that team-up. In this case, actually, that is exactly what seems to be happening with Spider-Man's cyborg suit, which first appeared in Spider-Man issue number 21. You might even be able to guess which Marvel character he is teaming up with in this issue just by looking at his outfit. Now, if you guessed Deathlock, ding ding ding, you would be right. Don't worry though, this cyborg look is just in fact a modified version of Spider-Man's suit. He doesn't really get a cybernetic arm to replace his human one. Instead, this is a special metal cast which allows him to maintain the functions of his arm while it heals at an accelerated rate. Apparently, according to the issue. The Electro-proof suit is an insulated suit that Spider-Man wears in issue number 425 of Amazing Spider-Man, and it is a wild one. It is a wild suit, and it is also a wild issue if you haven't read it. Now, this was at a time where Electro had beefed himself up in terms of his powers, essentially becoming what he'd describe as an electric god. This is also when Electro had pierced ears, by the way. What a great look. Well, the suit that Peter wears here doesn't look all that great. I am glad that it led me to this issue, as I kind of love how just like super 90s this issue is. It led me to a time that I didn't know I needed in my life right now, a time when Spider-Man and X-Man Nate Gray were besties just teaming up in New York, and I'm kind of here for it. In this issue, Spider-Man even kind of saves Nate, although Nate pays him back by saving Spider-Man later on, so don't worry about that. But Nate in his fight against Electro is surprisingly not doing so hot. Yeah, at one point he almost gets like completely KO'd by Electro. It's bizarre. That's just how crazy Electro is in this issue. To help combat the sheer power of his electric touch, Spider-Man gets himself an insulated suit to go over his standard suit, which basically looks like it was made out of patio chair cushions and rubber tubing to me. Which, in Peter's defense here, could make good last-minute insulation materials, to be honest. I don't know. Science. Maybe. Science?
Hot pink wizard hats or knee-high striped stockings might not seem like something you'd see an X-Men wearing, but it might surprise you what is hiding in their closets. Changeling, I've talked about this mutant a few times. He is the telepathic shifter that pretended to be Professor X, so Professor X could go underground to prepare for an alien invasion, had an identity crisis, decided to be a good guy after getting a cancer diagnosis, zombie version of him shapeshifted into Elvis to help out She-Hulk in a car chase. Hope that's all ringing a bell. So yeah, normally we talk about his powers, his life story, but today we are talking about his original outfit because what is he wearing? Blue morph suit base, which is fun because the alternate universe version of him is named Morph. Honestly, the body of it all is fine. It's the helmet. What is that? Who made that? Changeling can change the appearance of his costume at will, and that's what he picked. I have tried to find the reason he wears this helmet, but the truth is the character isn't that popular, so there really isn't much. I did find one hilarious description online. The most interesting thing about you is that ludicrous purple turnip of a hat. Sums it up, methinks. It must have something to do with the fact that he has telepathic powers, but I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what it has to do with that. Sound off in the comments down below if you know what is going on with the purple turnip. Again, with the headpieces for this X-Men, Feral sporting some sky-high hair, or fur. Feral is her name. Love that choice. She's completely feral. I don't know how to feel about her hair, fur, though. It's so pointy and so high. Somehow she is outdoing the original Wolverine look. Her actual clothing follows a similar style to her hair, having very pointy and high shoulders. I feel like she is in a 80s rock band and has yet to reveal that fact. Feral is like an animal. She has sharp claws and teeth. Her mutation makes her very fast and she has heightened senses. She also has a healing factor, of course, and a tail. The tail is very long and very strong. She can support herself with just the tail should she need to. Her most interesting ability, in my opinion, would have to be intangibility. She gained this ability during her Ghost era. Yes, she did die, like most Marvel characters. As a ghost, she could easily pass through things. I showed a picture of Feral to my roommate. First words out of her mouth, what would that look like in 3D? She has a point. How big is the hair in real life? Ava Dara, or Warbird, is a soldier for the Shi'ar Empire. That means she gets soldier armor because she goes into battle a lot. She is in the army. Not that I really know what going into battle is like, but I watch TV, I read, and you generally want to protect soft parts and major organs in your chest area. Tell me why her entire middle section is completely exposed in a big cross. Nothing there that we can see. Hopefully there's like an invisible shield type of situation she put there to show off, but I really don't think so. Is it a show of power? I'm exposing everything because you will never get close kind of thing? It's poor design in my opinion. Fun design, she looks great, but it's not proper battle armor. The rest of the armor is fine. Her legs, her arm, and her head are good. It's just the heart and major organs that are out. Warbird is a strong fighter, expert markswoman, and very well trained in hand-to-hand combat, plus she has an energy sword, so she is equipped to brawl when she needs to. The Cyclops outfit that debuted right after Avengers X-Men in 2012 was not a favorite in comparison to other Cyclops fits. No, it didn't measure up, but it didn't look completely awful, but it was kind of impractical. There are already so many things you just have to ignore in the Marvel universe, or you just kind of have to take it at face value, or else you'll find no enjoyment here. But this outfit just makes no sense for the character. So usually Cyclops wears a visor to help prevent random like optic blasts. The good thing about the visor is that it makes sense. If he needs to remove it, he can do so easily. It makes sense that something could be built into the visor to prevent the random optic blasts. So when the new fit dropped in 2012, there were a lot of questions. The suit itself is forgettable but fine, just a red suit with lines on it. It's the head section that is weird, again with the helmets and heads and masks. So instead of a visor, he just has an X. X across the eyes. Not sure what the X is made of, presumably fabric, but then what fabric is going to prevent optic blasts? Maybe it's made of a hard material to prevent optic blasts, then if he needed to remove it, would he just need to take off his entire hood? Questions everywhere. This one loses points simply for being unrealistic to the universe, which is hard to achieve. Magneto has had a number of outfits over the year, and I have put this one in the middle because I can't decide if I hate it. In 2021, Marvel released a bunch of character designs for the Hellfire Gala. It was the Met Gala for mutants basically, so everyone is turning up in exaggerated versions of their usual outfits or something representing their powers. Some people hit it out of the park. Emma Frost, Colossus, Sunfire are some of my personal favorites. Magneto's is giving. We can't deny that he put his all into his outfit. He's like an Elton John steampunk Magneto. There are aspects I really like. His gold cane is his helmet, and the suit is fun. It has lots of intricate designs and a rose pin to the collar. Most of my problem, my side eye, is directed at the top hat. I don't think I've seen someone wear a top hat well since like 1900 or a magician. Yeah, I just can't decide if he looks majestic or too over the top. Let me know what you think. Nightcrawler slays right now. He's got a good look going going for him. His look in the 90s Excalibur era, not a fan favorite, and it's not hard to see why. Nightcrawler now is like this cool guy. Sure, can his red neck cape be drawn a little extreme? Yes, but he makes it look cool. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for his 90s choice of fashion. Lots of characters got bold redesigns in the 90s, some worked, some didn't. In Nightcrawler's case, they gave him a goatee and overall made him a pirate. He looks like a pirate. Give him the hat, that's a pirate. He has a little gold earring, that's not that bad. I feel like they could bring that back, no problem. His belt is weird though. It looks like it might actually be undergarments, I don't know. The red V that we are used to seeing on the character, but made out of this like loose piece of fabric. It looks like he got into an accident in the sheets section of Bed Bath & Beyond. Generally, fans agree that this redesign was a miss and are glad he has a different fit now. Wolverine's debut costume, the one that was basically the yellow and blue standard but had little whiskers, that one surprisingly isn't the worst thing Wolverine has worn. Maybe the worst thing designed for him, but he has served worse. In X-Men 107, Wolverine is fighting the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard wears these outfits that are great for them, sure, but not so great for Wolverine. They're like these brown skin suits with a dark brown stripe up the middle and a belt made out of bones. Sounds like it should slay, right? The thing is, when Wolverine is drawn far away, it looks like he is wearing nothing but a thick ribbon. Physics, we don't know her. He's not, of course. The reason he had to wear the suit in the first place was because he got burned up in the fight and he needed something to wear that wasn't fabric shreds. An Imperial Guard was nearby and Wolverine took him out and wore his clothes. Professor X has sported some looks over the years. This one has got a touch of whimsy, a little bit of magic, and one man looking pretty in pink. Uncanny X-Men 153 gave us the gift of pink wizard Professor X. Unexpected turn for him, of course, but he didn't actually wear it. This issue of Uncanny X-Men featured the X-Men cleaning up after an attack, and Colossus's younger sister was scared to sleep because of the attack. So Kitty tells her a story to help her sleep. That story was Kitty's fairy tale. It featured Kitty and Colossus as pirates, Cyclops and Jean Grey as the prince and princess, Storm as the genie, Nightcrawler as a bamf, Wolverine as an unnamed meanie, and Professor X as the wizard. Professor X as the wizard was a moment. The comic was a little racially insensitive, but not the worst I've seen from Marvel, but also like not amazing. So Pink Professor is sitting on a magic carpet and he's got this hot pink robe covered in white stars and moons. He has a true wizard hat on his head with a little gem right in the middle and a very long mustache. Everyone across the board is sporting slightly goofy looks. This one was just the most shocking to me. So Rogue and the color green are best friends. She looks great in green, but once they made her green, like Shrek green, why? This was in Uncanny X-Men 190 and 191. This story was about that time that New York was transported back to the Middle Ages because a wizard couldn't get tickets to a Renaissance fair. I'm kidding. Kulan Gath is just weird. He made it so everyone in NYC acted like and believed they were in the Middle Ages and dressed like it was the Middle Ages, except Spider-Man. Not about him though. This is about what they did to Rogue. Redheads in green is a moment, you know, with the color wheel, backed science, and everything. So when Rogue wears green, she looks great. When she is green, I don't know. Shrek was not out when this comic was released, but Rogue is Shrek here. She doesn't look awful, but she's looked better. She also just wears a tunic and a long cape. She wasn't always green. In certain panels, she has her regular skin tone, so I'm not sure what's going on. It's kind of funny because at the start of the comic, there is a panel that showcases all the heroes affected by this spell. In it, you can see Storm drawn like a goddess, flattering angles overall, and then Rogue is beside her looking so angry and square. What did they do to my girl? Uncanny X-Men 149 and Kitty Pryde, match made not in heaven. It is sweet how the costume from this issue came to be. Kitty is young, she wants to express herself, right? So she decided that the X-Men costume given to her was positively antique. So she decided to make herself a new one. This comic came out in the 80s, so I think you can guess how this teenage girl designed an 80s superhero costume and how it turned out. Lots of colors that don't go together and some stars. She also added some rollerblades to the mix, a nod to Dazzler, who Kitty is a fan of. They are a fun touch. Now instead of the flare coming from her ability to walk through walls, she can rollerblade through them. She's got these purple, white, and blue high sock stocking things, and I think a gold base suit. On top of that, she's wearing green shorts, a purple X-Men belt, orange gloves, purple mask, and a red tank top with blue lightning strikes on it. The gloves also have blue stars on them. I was not a teen girl in the 80s personally, so I'm not sure if this was like the dream fit. If you were a teen girl in the 80s, please sound off in the comments. Let me know if you would wear this to the roller rink.